Everything you thought you knew about Neanderthals is about to change. For decades, we've imagined them as slow, brutish cavemen, club-carrying primitives who barely scraped by in the prehistoric world. But a new discovery has upended that image entirely. Neanderthals weren't just survivors, they were builders, designers, technologists, and the tools they left behind are now telling a very different story, one that's shaking the foundations of paleoanthropology. Let's unravel the truth. Let's explore the mind-blowing technological secrets of Neanderthal man. Chapter 1: The Old Narrative. For much of the 20th century, Neanderthals were cast as evolutionary dead ends, less intelligent, less capable, and ultimately inferior to Homo sapiens. This belief wasn't based on malice, but on early fossil interpretations. The first Neanderthal skulls discovered in the 1800s were thick-browed, sloped in shape, and associated with primitive tools. To early scientists, this was enough. Neanderthals must have been mentally inferior. Perhaps they could survive, but they couldn't innovate. And for decades, this became the dominant view. But recent discoveries have chipped away at this story, and now one find has obliterated it. Chapter 2: The Shocking Discovery in France. In a cave system in southwestern France called Bruniquel, archaeologists uncovered something astonishing. Deep inside the cave, far from any natural light, were carefully arranged rings of broken stalagmites. They weren't random. They were organized, intentional. Some were even burnt. The kicker? They were made 175,000 years ago by Neanderthals. This was before Homo sapiens even arrived in Europe. This meant Neanderthals were entering deep cave systems, bringing light sources, selecting specific stalagmites, breaking them to length, and arranging them in circular patterns, possibly for symbolic or ritual reasons. It was craftsmanship, it was planning, it was culture, and it sent shockwaves through the scientific community. The Bruniquel cave structures raised more questions than they answered. Why go so deep into the cave where there's no sunlight? Why arrange broken stones into circles? Why burn parts of them? Some scientists suggest these structures had a ritual or symbolic function, maybe even religious. Others argue it could have been a shelter, a gathering place, or a marker. Whatever the case, it wasn't survival instinct. It was something deeper, something abstract. This wasn't the behavior of mindless brutes. This was behavior that required memory, planning, and perhaps even shared meaning. And that's not all. Neanderthals also made specialized tools, ones that Homo sapiens wouldn't invent for tens of thousands of years. One example, the lissoir, a polished bone tool used for working leather, sleek, strong, and surprisingly modern. These tools weren't just made by chance. They required multiple steps, selecting the right bone, shaping it for durability and edge retention, using it repeatedly for leather preparation. Neanderthals also crafted glue by distilling birch bark tar, a process that involves controlled heating without oxygen. That's an early form of chemistry. Let that sink in. They made glue with fire, intentionally. Chapter 3: Language, Fire, and Culture. So if they could plan, shape tools, build structures, and perform chemical processes, what else could they do? There's growing evidence they may have had language. Their hyoid bone, a small neck bone involved in speech, is almost identical to ours. Their brain structures include areas involved in communication, and their social behaviors suggest they could cooperate, teach, and possibly even sing or tell stories. They buried their dead, sometimes with flowers, sometimes with tools or animal bones. They used red ochre, a pigment, which could mean body painting, decoration, or symbolic thinking. This was a culture, a people, not apes with clubs, humans with minds. Chapter 4: The rise of a new image. All of this is contributing to a dramatic reassessment of the Neanderthal image. Instead of grunting cave dwellers, we now see them as a parallel human species, intelligent, inventive, and deeply adapted to their environment. Some researchers argue that Neanderthals may have had intellectual capacities on par with early Homo sapiens, not inferior, just different. And yet, they disappeared. Why? That remains one of the biggest mysteries in anthropology. But here's a twist. What if they never really vanished? Modern genetic studies claim that almost everyone of non-African descent has Neanderthal DNA, between 1% and 4%. That means they live on inside us? The discovery of Neanderthal genes related to immune response, skin tone, even neurological traits suggests their legacy didn't vanish. It was absorbed, and those genes may be responsible for modern human variability in pain tolerance, sleep cycles, altitude adaptation, susceptibility to disease. In other words, they contributed to who we are. We didn't beat them. We merged with them. Chapter 5. Challenging the final myth. Still, one last myth persists, that Neanderthal technology was always derivative, that they only learned by copying Homo sapiens. But the Bruniquel cave predates any Homo sapiens presence in Europe, and many bone tools and tar adhesives appeared in Neanderthal sites before human migration. This forces a new conclusion. Neanderthals developed complex technologies independently. This was their intelligence, their innovation. Chapter 6. Why we got it wrong for so long. So why did we underestimate them? Partly because of bias. Homo sapiens like to see themselves as unique, the top of the evolutionary ladder. And when the victors write history, they often cast their ancestors as superior, but also because so much of Neanderthal culture didn't survive. They didn't build permanent cities or leave behind scrolls or monuments. Their culture was oral, perishable, carried in the rhythms of speech, gestures, and firelight. But now, stone by stone, those whispers are becoming shouts. So here's the real story. Neanderthals were not failed humans. They were a different kind of human, one that thrived for hundreds of thousands of years in brutal ice age conditions. They innovated, they adapted, they loved, they mourned, and they built things we're only now starting to understand. The next time you imagine a Neanderthal, don't see a caveman grunting by a fire. See a figure deep in a cave, carefully arranging stones in the flickering light. See a mother making glue to fix a broken tool. See a child holding a bone instrument, learning from their elders. That's the truth, and it's only the beginning. Conclusion. A new story in stone. The discovery in Bruniquel Cave isn't just about stalagmites. It's a message from the past, written in silence and stone, telling us we were here and we were more than you ever imagined. Don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping discoveries from humanity's deep past. To explore what life was like after the dinosaurs, click here.